Yo, what is up? It's not newbie back again with yet another stream. We have a lot of things to get to today on the stream, but also I kind of want it to be kind of like a chiller stream. I know on Thursdays usually I'll do my gaming streams, and if I have time, I actually do plan on doing some gaming, running through all of the rest of those new maps that they threw into Halo Infinite with a new update. Well, let me turn the music down so I can hear the TTS because I have that pulled up now. But yeah, I will say though, we have so many things. But if there's anything you want me to cover in my streams that you have noticed that I don't really like react to or talk about very much, feel free to send me more topics as the presidential election heats up. I'm going to be talking about politics a lot, and I want to make sure that I don't get like tunnel vision, only talking about one thing, because I think my content tends to be best if I talk about a variety of different things, just because you keep the mood relatively light. We can't be talking about just awful, terrible things all the time. We have to, throw in some not so serious things, into the mix every here and there. So, let's see, we've got so many things to cover.
That was harsh.
I know I'll be checking the React requests. I'll be reacting to the stuff that we have here. Lenexo sent in a request there. All right, let me check this. Let me check this. Oh, by the way, I got this absolutely crazy. Hold on, let me see here. I got this absolute crazy bag of gummy bears when I was at Walmart last. So that's kind of cool. Oh, this is like, I didn't even know that this was like 3 pounds. It's kind of epic. I mean, I'm gonna try to eat these things slowly. I'm not gonna go all gung ho on them. I'm not gonna like try to eat them all super quickly. I mean, I've already had them for like almost a week. And I've barely made a dent in them. So, I mean, that's a good sign, because I don't want to be like gobbling all this stuff up insanely quickly. That's no good. That's no good at all. Oh man. Let's see. Some different things here. Oh, hold on. Wait. Let me cut the music here, because there is one thing that I do want to react to. I actually completely forgot that I wanted to react to this. Let me pull this up here. Also, by the way, I have a new view that I'm trying out for my streams, where instead of having like speech chat on screen, I do have TTS working. TTS is up here on the side, but on top of that, I do have this little overlay down here. Actually, overlay down below. It looks black right now just because nobody's talking, but that's like my new chat thing. I just realized though, maybe this needs to be somewhat transparent, because I realized that you literally cannot see the title of what it is I'm reacting to. I guess unless, hold on, let's see. No, I guess you can't see the title there either. Yo, well that sucks. Okay, well in that case, let's go back to our olden ways. And I'm gonna bring. Let's see. I'm gonna bring this over here. All right, there we go. Not so bad. I thought it would be fun to throw in some overlays, some chat overlays, like the big dogs do, the big streamers who get the Boku bucks, but couldn't pull it off, unfortunately. But that's quite all right. Actually, hold on. Give me a second here. There we go. Everybody knows you gotta oil the engine before you're ready to rev stuff up. Alrighty. Oh, let me pull this up here. Whew. Alrighty. So for those of you who are familiar with my content, you know that I've watched a trailer for this Christian movie called The Shift. That happened close to a couple years ago. The budget for the film was very obviously small. And when I reacted to the movie, I kind of just laughed at it. And at the end, I actually literally said, don't watch this movie. In part because I am sick and tired of people going to, support these Christian movies that are garbage, but they're like, yay, woo, Christian movie. And they go like cheer it on as if it's like the best thing in the world. And in reality, these movies have lots of flaws and things that they need to work through. Well, it turns out, and I'm happy to say this, that it's time for me to apologize, because since that trailer came out, Angel Studios went and gave them a bunch of funding and allowed them to make a more high-budget production featuring A-list stars. And after following all of their content on Instagram, they finally, very recently, actually 8 days ago, went and released a teaser trailer for this movie. So I want to look at this teaser trailer, and I want to see how much this movie has, or at least this project, has improved since the last time that I watched one of their trailers, because it looked like garbage. When we saw the original trailer, but I've been seeing the production level and it looks good. It looks good. So let's check this out.
The Shift is a movie that takes place in a world in which there are many worlds.
Okay, so this is more like a featurette, I guess.
The Shift is one man's harrowing journey through the multiverse.
In each of our...
By the way, based on the plot synopsis, this movie must have, really evolved since the original short version of the film was made, because I did not know that this was supposed to be a multiverse movie. Also, hey, Blue Penguin Studios, what's up? I have not seen you in the chat for a bit. It's nice to see you, man.
Our decisions, each action we take creates another world.
Oh, maybe this is the actual trailer.
I don't know anyone who doesn't like sci-fi if it's done correctly.
Or maybe not. Hold on, let's see.
The Shift is a really, really solid.
He's a good actor. He's actually a #1 Lone Star.
Brock,
okay, they both look like they're breaking character, not gonna lie. But just visually, just looking at like the lighting, the camera work, this is all mostly just like a background a featurette, including background footage, like B-roll footage. Like, this already looks way better than the original trailer.
Director and writer has spent so much time developing the story. He's world building, and it's impressive to watch.
It's cool to see world building in a Christian movie, because you generally don't see a whole lot of that.
When you have projects like The Shift out there, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing.
That's cool. That's cool, because and I can see why he would get so emotional, because you generally don't see a ton of high production, high quality Christian content out there. I think The Chosen is striving for this. I think, I've only seen season 1 of The Chosen. I think it gets kind of close, but it's nice to see Angel Studios making quality content that's good enough towards this guy's clearly tearing up, maybe in part because Christian entertainment, I think, is finally hitting a place that it's never been before, but it's where we always wanted it to be. Okay. Is that Sean Austin? I will say that, there's some shots here that don't look the best, but it's still pretty good. It still looks like something that could easily be aired on cable television. This is better. I think this is better shot than a show that I'm kind of watching right now, Falling Skies. And those lights are pretty cool. Oh, wasn't he in The Chosen as well? Wait, so is she. Interesting. Nice, nice. We're getting a variety of shots here. Interesting. Oh, it's going to theaters. Okay.
I did not see this one coming.
Hold on, what's
if you're
this?
anything like me, Minecraft.
Oh, different video. Yo, that's awesome. I mean, I didn't even know that was gonna go to theaters. I thought that was gonna be like for streaming or something. Like now that I know it's gonna be in theaters, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go check that movie out. I mean that movie looks pretty good. Now I don't know what the plot is exactly gonna be, especially since now that it's a multiverse movie, it seems like it's changed quite a bit from its original vision. So we'll see, but I'm kind of hyped for this. I'll have to keep an eye out on this. It looks better than that Nefarious movie that's out right now. Not to dog on Nefarious, but I think people are hyping that way up, probably because they're paid off to do so. But that's fire. That's fire. That's fire. I will keep an eye out for that movie. And also for the makers of The Shift, I apologize. I will say that the trailer originally didn't look great. Even though I'm sure you guys had a great story at the core. It just didn't look good to me. I'm glad now that we have something with both a quality story, it looks like, and some really good visuals to back that up. So, applause for improving the project far beyond what it initially was. I'm very excited. All right, let's see here. Blue Pango Studio said hi, and that's all he said. Bro dipped. Okay. I guess I might as well check out this video as well. It says Minecraft just changed forever. Actually, no, I don't know why I'm doing auto translate. I don't know. Did Minecraft change? What did they do? Okay, I'm kind of curious to see here. Is this gonna be a clickbait or like a clickbait video, or is this gonna be like an actual big update, a big change?
I did not see this one coming. If you're anything like me, Minecraft's grass block logo hits you with a wave of nostalgia. Minecraft's desktop icon hasn't changed in literally 10 years, and it's an iconic piece of the game's history at this point. But it's all about the change.
Wait, they're changing the icon?
Mojang just announced that they will be changing the logos and icons of Minecraft Java and Bedrock Edition. The logo that appears in-game on Java Edition is being updated with a sharper, more readable version, and the Java Edition desktop icon is getting a fresh new look.
Ooh.
Along with the Java sharper, more readable version and the Java.
That's interesting. I mean, that's not as drastic as I was thinking it would be, and I don't think it's a major difference. But it's an interesting decision to change it to something where the difference is so minimal. Oh, hey, Mr. Pizza, what's up?
Edition desktop icon is getting a fresh new look, along with the Java snapshot icon. The Bedrock Edition icon is also being updated, along with the Bedrock.
Wait, so are they just changing all the textures?
Preview icon, and most noteworthy, the launcher icons will also be replaced with creeper faces. The new launcher icon will be changed to a green creeper face and the legacy launcher to a white one. The community seems to be divided on these changes.
No, I like the creeper.
Some love them and some hate them. So I'm curious to know what you think of the new Minecraft logos and icons. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's all for today's video. Be sure to subscribe for the latest Minecraft news and stay safe.
I think it's all very minor. However, I will say that I do like that decision to change the creeper logo. I mean, I do like the decision to change the launcher icon to the creeper logo. I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Oh, hey, Mr. Pizza, what's up? Nice to see you in the chat, man. Let's see. Okay, we've got one more, I guess, freeform react video, and then we're gonna kind of get into the heart of the content of the stream. As you said, not much, just got done playing on the modded Minecraft server I made for me and Linux. Oh, that's cool. I think I saw something in your Discord about you having a modded, or you hosting a server. If I had more time, I would definitely hop on and play with you guys. Like, bro, if I was living that unemployed life, yo, I would be streaming every day and definitely playing on your server. Let's see. Now, you guys have seen a lot of videos popping off recently. We've been seeing these all over the internet saying that gaming isn't fun anymore. It's boring. It's not interesting anymore. We've all lost this feeling that we used to taste like it was Coca-Cola. Well, this dude named Arash made another such video, but since, it's more recent, I figured I might as well react to it. It came out just mere weeks ago. And I'm kind of curious to see what he points out, because honestly, I love gaming. I game on my streams channel literally every week, sometimes multiple times a week. I love playing with my friends over Discord, playing with viewers also over Discord, or playing by myself over Discord where no one is joining because no one feels like playing with me. So, with such a great and positive gaming experience, even right here in 2023, I'm kind of curious to see why people are so upset about the state of gaming right now. But let's check this out.
Modern gaming certainly has its issues. Games are plagued by microtransactions, content drip feeds, bugs and unfinished products, and just general predatory practices. However, it's important to realize that the games we look back upon with glee also had their own issues, but we just focus on all the good stuff when we decide to think about them. This year, I will turn 29, and I have been playing games for a majority of my life, at least as far back as I can remember. Everything from the Game Boy to the latest and greatest PC games. Throughout all these years, gaming has been that outlet for me. A little escape from the mundaneness of life, and also something to get me through those rough times. Making friends, hitting goals, and just experiencing all types of games throughout the years has been a ride. But as I get older, I find the grind of video games less and less appealing. 14-year-old me could stare at my TV and play Halo 3 or COD 4 for literally an entire weekend, only taking breaks to eat and sleep. But now, after a few hours, the allure of gaming just isn't there. I constantly find myself asking, were games just better back then, or is this a consequence of getting older? That is a question that I have tried to reflect on this year.
That's interesting because, as you grow, your tastes are going to change. You're not always going to like the same things as an adult that you liked as a kid. So that's an interesting point, and I'm glad that he's hitting on that.
Back when I was younger, my responsibilities consisted of simply not failing school and maybe a part-time job. Today, there's all the responsibilities.
Wait, what did he add?
Simply not failing school and maybe a part-time job.
YouTuber, and then it says, figure out if watermelon seeds really grow in my stomach. Okay. Children questions.
Today, there's all the responsibilities that come with being an adult. Don't get me wrong. I still love gaming and video games, and that's why I'm still here on a semi-regular basis putting out YouTube videos. But these days, it feels like it's harder to just pump hours into a game and get that pure dopamine that I used to get. It's just not there. Bits and pieces can kind of let you relive those feelings, but many times those long grinds on games just lead to me being unhappy, whether it's at the game itself or simply something else. Nostalgia does some crazy things to your mind. Sit there and think back on your experiences gaming as a kid. I can almost guarantee you will look back on them with glee. For me, that peak gaming experience that I always fall back on was grinding Halo 3 matchmaking and custom games. I'd come home from school, throw on Halo 3, and literally play until my mom forced me to get off the game and do homework, or on weekends until I literally fell asleep while playing. I lived to play Halo 3 at the time. All I wanted to do was get on and grind. During those younger years, not only do you have less responsibilities, allowing you to more freely sink countless hours into the pleasures of gaming, but your mind is also forming. Experiencing these great moments while younger is always going to have a larger impact on you that later experiences are going to struggle to replicate.
That's true, because these are formative years. And so, yeah, a lot of these memories are going to stick with you a lot longer, and the highs are going to register a lot stronger than highs are today. The lows are going to register a lot more than lows register today, depending what it is you go through. But yeah, interesting.
It really doesn't matter how good or how bad modern gaming is, because if we're honest, while many of us older folk would say gaming today sucks, I can almost guarantee the kids that grew up in the modern era of gaming look back on some of the games that have come out more recently as these amazing times in their gaming careers. The peak hype of Fortnite, the launch of Valorant, etc. These are the games that kids today will look back on 10 years from now and wish they could experience again. The truth is, most people will always look back on their formative years and the experiences they had during them much more fondly than the current times, no matter what the offering is. Oftentimes because it's much easier to remember the fun times you had back then, ignoring the times where you were frustrated or just not having fun. I fall victim to this on a daily basis when it comes to gaming. I've been chasing the high of Halo 3 for almost a decade now, and really nothing has gotten even close. Was Halo 3 a great game? 100%, it's the GOAT. But I have also set it on a pedestal that has made Halo 3 basically unreachable at this point, regardless of today's offerings. So what do we do to make gaming fun again? That has been the goal now for me this year, and while I definitely still get my enjoyment from gaming, there are many times that I do find myself playing something simply to play it. Well, luckily for us, if you want to go back and experience those old games you fell in love with, you might still be able to. If you were a multiplayer gamer, that might be a little bit harder as sometimes servers shut down, but if you're on PC, there are oftentimes communities that have popped up to kind of preserve those games if they have the tools able to do it. Unfortunately, if the servers are shut down and no one has popped up to preserve the game, you might be out of luck if your favorite game was a multiplayer game, but if your favorite games as a kid were a single player game, well, those still work. Whether it's literally popping the game into an old console or maybe doing a little finagling to get it to work today on PC. For the most part, we can go back and get our nostalgia fix from these older games. But for many, we want new experiences that are gonna match those experiences we had back then. And I think this is where we have to realize it's just not gonna happen. Not just because of the state of games today, but rather nothing will match the experiences that we've built up in our minds. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you today's games are better than old games, but games now and back then had their pros and cons. Regardless, constantly chasing those highs that you had in the past will lead you to nothing but feeling unfulfilled.
Dude is in his I peaked in middle school era right here. That's what he's hitting.
Nothing is going to even match those experiences built up in our heads, and accepting this goes a long way for enjoying modern games for what they are. Instead of trying to beat or match those old experiences, it may just be time to try something slightly new. For me, I've always been a competitive multiplayer guy. Grinding ranked in whatever game that had it would hold my attention for thousands of hours. And while I do still enjoy a good ranked grind here and then, it's also important for me to realize sometimes it's just not fun. Maybe being miserable for hours on end isn't worth the shiny icon when I achieve a rank that I've set out to hit. Gaming has such a wide variety of amazing games. We just need to take a step back and be more willing to try out some other things. Whether you're into competitive multiplayer games and this means checking out more casual multiplayer games or even single player games, just trying to experience new things can go a long way, as the depth of variety in gaming today is enormous, especially if you're willing to look past just the AAA offerings. It may be hard to live up to the experiences you had as a kid on whatever your favorite or most childhood defining game was, but that's okay. You don't need to. Accepting the fact that gaming today is different than it was can open up your mind to experiencing new or different things in a more receptive way. Not that we shouldn't fight back against predatory practices in modern games, which you can do by simply not playing the games that upset you, but rather than just hitting your head against a wall on a game or a franchise you no longer enjoy, try some other stuff out or even take a break from gaming. It's always going to be there when you have time or really want to game, but it doesn't always have to be your focus. Gaming is meant to be a fun escape from our everyday reality, not another mundane thing that we do just to fill the time in the day. You might even find gaming more fun as you spend more time doing other things. Even if you don't take a step back.
It's just true. Because if you like take a break from doing something and then come back, you'll enjoy it like way more. Like I found this whenever I take breaks from streaming, right? Like I'm always like, as soon as I stop streaming, like I'm like, oh, man, I really want to stream tonight. And then I'm like, oh man, let me write down all these like ideas for things to do for future streams. And then once I do the next stream, I'm like so high energy and so like hyped up for it. Then I'm like, let's go. And then the stream ends up being fire. So taking breaks can actually make coming back to something a lot better.
From gaming, playing some awesome single player games or maybe a more casual multiplayer game may give you more enjoyment when you hop back onto grind COD ranked or whatever your game of choice is these days. That's going to be the video. Thanks to my one and only Patreon supporter Scan these days. Check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel. And with that said, I will see you all next time.
Nice. That was a fire video. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, maybe it's the fact that I don't game like compulsively. Like I game like basically 2, maybe 3 times a week. And maybe that's why I'm not burnt out by gaming, or I don't feel like gaming is boring, is because I'm not gaming like every single day. So, I mean, maybe that helps. That might help. Anyways, we do have some more serious things to talk about. Mr. Pizza said, I figured out how to get the Naruto mod to work on the Minecraft servers. Okay. So I made one for me and then Excel. Was working on a little mountain base. That's cool. I would like to see some footage of you guys playing on the server sometime, if you feel like posting it. Let's see. All right, here. All right. So Cedarville, more drama with Cedarville. Now, thankfully, this is not about anyone getting stabbed or accusations of someone being creepy or anything like that. So, I mean, that's a whole different story for a whole different day. But this right here, but the current drama surrounding Cedarville University is in regards to actually Cedarville University responding to the whole topic of sexual assault. Now, it is April, which I think is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and so to close out the month on a high note, they decided to actually, expand their campaign, which is called Speak Up Cedarville. They started this back when I was attending the school on campus in person, where they post little things about how you can, have a healthy relationship, signs of abuse, different things like that. They've expanded it to more head-on address assaults, boundaries, even more toxic aspects of relationships. And one sign that was very, very controversial was in the bathroom. And, one might think, well, what type of sign that Cedarville University could put up would cause such a big stink? Well, one telling women, to maybe not push physical boundaries in relationships. And one might say that sounds ridiculous, or it's something that I'm making up, but no, this is actually quite true. We have this tweet here from Julie Royce, and there's a whole article about this, which you can go ahead and check out on your own if you want to. But Julie Royce put out this tweet saying Cedarville University sparked controversy for posting a message in women's bathrooms that some say shamed and blamed women for abuse. It comes after it comes years after unrest at the Ohio Baptist School concerning its alleged mishandling of Title IX cases. And we see here the picture. It merely says stand up. It merely says speak up Cedarville, with a message that says, examine yourself. Have I ever encouraged my boyfriend to go beyond boundaries we set for our relationship? And, on its face, that doesn't sound too bad, right? Like, these are questions that, not only women, but men should be asking themselves, when they're in relationships, making sure that they're not pushing boundaries, that they say what they mean what they say, and they keep their behavior appropriate. But people were upset about this, about telling women, to not push boundaries in relationships. Now, some have said that this is, part of victim blaming, right? Because, if there's some sort of sexual misconduct, it's always the women's fault, which, unfortunately, is rhetoric that many people who are staunch Baptists do hold. But, that's a greater messaging of the greater church. It might not be what Cedarville University themselves, what they're saying. Now, one student or former student from Cedarville University went and tweeted this out, mentioned that in the men's bathroom there was a poster saying, have I ever used my position on campus to make someone put up with offensive behavior? There were also reports of another one saying, asking men if they've ever used their power and influence to manipulate someone into going out with them when, otherwise they wouldn't even be interested. And also there were reports of that same message of asking, if, you've encouraged your significant other to push boundaries. That's also been placed in the men's restroom, reportedly. Now, with all these things rolling around, I'm just a little bit confused because, you know, it's always good and healthy to make sure that you're not pushing relationships. And if we're gonna bring up abuse, right, we're gonna talk about assault. Although assault isn't directly mentioned here, but if we're gonna talk about assault, well, it's not as if, you know, men are the only ones who commit assault. Sometimes women commit assault and commit abuse in relationships as well, whether that be physical or whether that be like emotional or verbal abuse. So to me, it doesn't make sense to it doesn't make sense to criticize the university for telling women to, you know, behave appropriately in relationships and treat their significant others well, when many of these same people want the exact same thing out of men. So there are tons of people, for instance, who, if this exact same poster was posted in the men's bathroom, they would be talking up the W all over the chalkboard. They would be celebrating and dancing and breaking out the tambourines and the maracas. But no, because this was something that was placed in the women's restroom, then that means that it's victim blaming, because of course women can never be perpetrators of abuse, right? I just find this a bit odd, and I think a lot of the sexist rhetoric really needs to stop, because women and men are, you know, equally able to commit abuse within relationships. And I think that rather than saying, oh, we only need to hold men accountable, we need to hold both men and women accountable and give the same messaging to both, right? To tell both sides to treat each other well. Now, you know, I know a lot of the woke people at Cedarville University or someone the people who lead more into the activist types, especially when it comes to the whole talent dying thing. If you go up to them and tell them, hey, well, women can take advantage of men as well, women can abuse men as well, then they'll be like, oh yeah, of course. But very rarely will you actually see them also bringing up cases in which that occurs, which I think is telling on some front, especially when you see you know, the outrage over telling women basically not to abuse men. So I just thought I would mention that, because I think, you know, this unequal treatment between women and men, I mean, of course, it echoes what we're seeing in the modern culture. It's cool to be sexist as long as you're being sexist towards men. And so I think we're seeing a lot of folks at Cedarville University in growing numbers over the years, unfortunately, you know, echoing that same messaging. It's very harmful. It's very unfortunate. But I mean, I'm hoping that this is just the very you know, the very loud and boisterous majority. I'm hoping that this is really just the loud and boisterous minority more than anything else, and this is not something that's held among the majority of the student body. Because if the student body believes that, you know, you should be holding women accountable for their abuse, but not if the majority of the student body thinks that we should be holding men accountable for their abuse, but not women, then I think we have a serious problem in our hands. We could see, you know, some of the terrible things societally that we see in the world today, we see in America, begin to seep into Cedarville University in ways that are unhelpful. So I just wanted to bring that up, mention it, and kind of, you know, discuss my feelings about it, especially since I haven't seen anyone really, you know, criticize the criticism, which seems to be incredibly outsized on the face of it. But, you know, certainly leave comments in the comment section. I always get hate comments when I make videos like these, just because, you know, the people freak out because, you know, it's against the whole movement thing. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I would like to hear what you have to say, even if you're upset about me saying that we need to hold everyone accountable for abuse. Interesting, but yeah, this is pretty much all I have. Alrighty. Let's see here. Let's roll up into the next subject here. I think we've got like three more subjects to do, and then it'll be gaming all the way down. Actually, hold on. I might just do Linux O's. Hold on. I think I'm gonna do Linux O's video actually. Yeah, let me do Linux O's video. Let's see, it's unclear if he's still sleeping with his brother, but let's check this out. All right, so Lennoxo said that BBT is an incel. Not super familiar with BBT. I think I saw a YTP of BBT at one point. It's unfortunately one of my most popular videos on my Clips channel. But, you know, I'm curious to see what this is about because, you know, having been in red pill communities before, not the current era. The current era is extremely cringe and whack, but in previous eras, you know, there've been a lot of incels in those communities as well. And so it'll be interesting to see what Lennox O's take on incels is, because a lot of people have different perspectives of incels. Some people hate incels. Some people think that incels, you know, have great insights into, you know, how society works. Those people are also incels. But let's take a look at this, and I just want to see Lennox O's take. I didn't even know that BBT was an incel, honestly.
All right, this is going to be a little disclaimer before we start the video. If you are a person that is involved with the LGBTQ community and you are easily offended with stuff that involves around it, please do not watch this video. I just want you guys to take good notice of that. Please don't watch this video if you are easily offended if you are part of the LGBT community. So, with that being...
The dude just literally say, no, tell the gay people not to watch this video. I'm curious as to what he would say that's so strong that he would tell people not to watch the video, unless he's going to be quoting some incendiary speech.
Said today we are going to be talking about a YouTuber that has been kind of hidden in controversy recently. We are going to be talking about BBT Reacts. Now, for those of you who don't know, BBT Reacts is a YouTuber, obviously. He does reaction videos as similar as I do, you know, just reaction videos, and he takes requests from people. Now, before I get into the meat of the whole controversy thing, I'm gonna be explaining my honest opinion about BBT. Honestly, I think he's an average reactor. I don't really think he's like one of my top tier reactors. I feel like he milks people for money and out of reaction requests. He's literally the only reaction person that will literally want money from reaction videos. And to be honest, he doesn't follow along with what he says. Like if I recall, he has videos, if he has rules on his channel or whatever, that they claim that there's only like certain things that you can send him or whatever, and like you have to send it with a certain extent. But he doesn't go by his rules. He will react to anything he wants. He will even react to like Hitler content or something like that. Something way more gruesome than that.
Interesting. By the way, chat, let me know if you want me to react to Hitler. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking money for reacts. Maybe it is a case of the money that he's been given kind of influencing the content that he reacts to, though. I'm kind of curious to see where this is going.
Honestly, I'm going to be brutally honest about that. And literally, BBT has no boundaries. He will literally react to anything as his heart's desires, I would feel like, or as the audience's desires more specifically. So I would say most likely that. All right, but anyway, that's my opinion on him. But now I'm starting to have more suspicion on his behavior and I feel like my statement is becoming more true as with my doubts with BBT.
I've talked about this before. I've talked about this before. If you guys haven't seen this, check out my toxic community tutorial. It tells you everything you need to know, like when it comes to fostering a toxic community. I think step number one is to not enforce your boundaries. Step number one is to not enforce your boundaries. If you want to make sure that something is toxic, bust up your boundaries wide open, man. And, you know, this is like a huge red flag. Huge red flag. We're seeing it here. You know, you see this red flag of someone setting boundaries, not, abiding by them. Look what happens, right? Look what happens. I've talked about this before. You know, there should be no surprise Pikachu faces in the audience.
as now he has posted this video called the homebrew video, where he basically makes a video where he homebrews beer or something like that. I don't even know what it is. But if you watch, there's a certain segment of the video where he starts talking about women and how he likes women in a certain way or whatever. But it's not in the way of how you would think it is. The way how BBT explains women is somehow very blatantly objectifying to what a woman should be, that it just comes out as disgusting, it just comes out as obnoxious, and it does not leave a good taste for what BBT is saying or what the audience is going to see what they're saying. Okay, he has the clip. Okay. So I'm going to be playing a video clip of him making these statements or these opinions about that he's making, and I want you to voice your own opinion of what you think.
I will voice my own opinion on what I think.
As what he was trying to say here, and I'm hoping you guys can agree or disagree if you see what I'm trying to say here.
I love women. I love real women with real titties and real pussies, you know? And it's hard to find a really good woman these days, man. They just don't exist. I think they just got on the rocket ship and just fucking left the planet. I don't know, man. And it's been replaced by a bunch of other bullshit I'm not into because I'm straight. To get certain people, but I like women, biological women, you know, and pussies and shit.
So, yeah.
Yo, interesting. So, is this it? I mean, that's not a controversial take at all. I mean, he's just saying that he likes women. Now, he's saying this in a very vulgar way, for sure. But, I mean, all he's saying here is that he likes women. Now, that is the first part. I think there is another second part that he's saying. Because I think those statements basically assume that all it takes to be a good woman is to be a biological woman, which is not true at all. I know, having dated women, this is not the case. Hold on, let me seek this back over here. But the thing is like, you know, I have heard that it is difficult to find good women, and to some extent that certainly must be true because I'm single. But in all honesty, if you're looking for a good woman, it's going to be harder for you to do this, you know, in a secular context. Let me just put that in first of all, because secular context, you know, you're intrinsically more or less, you know, probably more likely to be more materialistic, so you're going to be focused more on your career. Now, that's just as a whole. Now, what this means is women are also going to be more focused on their careers, and in pursuing a career, they may not have time, resources, energy, or interest, or even need to try and find a long-term partner. And that's why, you know, the red pill manosphere community as of now is pretty much off the rails. But one thing they are correct about is the phenomenon of women who are working, you know, trying to be like these like boss ladies, these like boss girls, and they're extremely successful, or at least even moderately successful, out on their own, single, you know, either not in a relationship or just like sleeping around until they hit a certain age, and then they realize, well, oh, maybe I do either want a long-term relationship, or maybe I do want to have children. But at that point, for various reasons, they have trouble finding men in that age range who are also interested in the same thing. Now, because there's like this fallacy that you can just like play around until you're 30 and then just settle down when you become 31, which is not how it works. So I mean, that does, I think, make it a bit difficult to find a good woman in the secular context, because a lot of the women who would be the good women are just deciding to chase their careers, and they're not as interested in being in a relationship. So that's like one aspect of things. But on the other end, too, is if you're a Christian, right? And I think a lot of my viewers are. I believe Linux O is as well. I might be mistaken. Linux O is one of my viewers. In the Christian context, it's not nearly as difficult, because Christians tend to have different values. Christians tend to value like things like the family a lot more than material things. There are plenty of materialistic Christians, don't get me wrong, but in general, I would argue that Christians tend to have their priorities straighter than even the straightest non-Christian. So if you're looking for a good woman, go to church. Now people are going to be upset about that. People are going to be mad that I said to go to church if you want to find a good woman. But it's true, right? Even if you look at the manosphere thing, right, where it's like, oh, I only want to date a woman who, has, a body count of 0 or 1 or 2, because that means that they have high value versus someone who has, the body count of like a carton of eggs. This got like 12 or 16 or whatever. I don't know. Is intrinsically has more value than someone who has a body count of 12 or 16. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the one place, pretty much the only place now where you can find a fairly sizable community of women with low body counts is the church. Now, some of y'all are mad because the store that has the produce you're looking for. No, this is terrible language. I should not be using this analogy at all. Some of y'all are mad because the place that has the type of women that you're looking for is not the type of place you want to be. And, that's fair, but I think you'll have to, just settle for the fact and be aware of the fact that, the people that you're looking for are here. So if you want this type of person, you have to either go to the place where these people are or decide that you want to go do something else. Don't complain about not being able to find quality women and then, you refuse to go to church, or you refuse to hang around respectable women, or you're spending all this time, doing one night stands, right? Like, don't be like, I've heard stories about women who like, they go on like one night stands, or they like sleep with someone like in the club, and then they wonder why they can't get a man to stick around for more than 48 hours. You're chasing the type of person who's not likely to stick around. So, and I know that I'm directing this towards men, but the same strats could be, directed towards women as well. Don't go after, dishonorable men, dishonorable women, and then expect an honorable life partner. It just ain't gonna work.
So yeah, from those statements alone, I would say that he's blatantly objectifying women, just blatantly objectifying women. And not only that, it's not only blatantly objectifying women, it is literally probably the most offensive thing that he's probably said in any video whatsoever. Okay, I'm not gonna judge from anyone. You can love women, you can love men, you can love non-binary, non-binary, I don't care. But when you're willing to freaking make an attack like that of what BBT is doing, because this is specifically targeting to people that are wanting to be trans, people that are insecure about their body. And
what is he talking? What? He's not attacking anyone. All he's saying is that he likes women. And he's not interested in trans women. He's just interested in women. That's not an attack or anything. That's just an admission of preferences. Now, mainstream culture. It's not cool to only be interested in women if you're a straight man. You have to be interested in trans women as well. I mean, I reject all that. I'm not going to be pressured by culture or society to embrace this notion where you have to pretend that you're interested in trans women if you're a straight man, right? And this is no hate towards trans people. Trans people, go be trans. Trans it up. Have fun. But that doesn't mean that I have to sleep with you. But now we do have a culture now where trans women have literally, now not a lot, but a few trans women have literally said, you are sexist for not dating me, for not sleeping with me. And now, you have a few of them literally saying, if you don't sleep with me, then you're sexist or you're transphobic. Like, what? Different people are going to have different preferences, right? Different people are going to have different preferences. And in fact, there's certain people who are going to look down on you if you don't have preferences in some aspects, right? So like, you look at the black community, right? In the black community, there's this whole phenomenon where generally if you're in a relationship with someone who's not black, in general, you're kind of looked down on. But then if you're in a relationship with someone who is black, then you get applause in the community. It's like, oh yeah, black love, let's go. Yeah, yay woo, black love. So, it's fine to have, preferences along racial lines, but it's not fine to have preferences as far as, the sex of the person that you're deciding to be with. It's a little bit erroneous. Now, I know the younger generation is a lot more susceptible to peer pressure because, that's just how young people tend to be. So I don't necessarily blame Linux So for kind of like towing this cultural line. But I think it does need to be pointed out that people need to be allowed to have their own preferences. And people shouldn't be goaded or intimidated into either going on to dates or sleeping with people that they are not attracted to because society says that they're a bad person if they don't.
That are wanting to be trans, people that are insecure about their body, and people that always have these like certain types of surgeries when they're like in a mental health crisis or whatever, when they want to have like a change in their appearance. But with extreme poor taste that BBT is trying to initiate is about women just having biological body or whatever, and it's just so bad. It's just so bad. Why would he?
No, it's a literal thing. Like I've had conversations before with guys in my especially like guys in my most recent haul that I was in, with Craig and stuff, talking about what I like in women, and these types of things. Now for me, it's actually more about personality. Well, maybe not more about personality, but it's very important, in the person that I'm like interested in, the personality of the person. So a lot of my qualifiers are more about like the personality, but there's some physical things in there too. And there's nothing wrong inherently with, having specific, preferences when it comes to physical attributes or biology. Now, you can be incredibly crass and rude in how you say it, which BBT was incredibly tasteless in how he put this together. And I think that, his language that he used, which it's very easy to see how it could come off as objectifying, is, probably the worst thing about his statements here. Because there's nothing really wrong with him having his own preferences, because it's fine to have your own preferences.
He ever initiated like that. That was just so poorly formatted. And the fact that I actually fact checked this video with some people that reacted to this video, such as Colin from ISM, Mr. Pizza, the whole gang and whatever. And apparently this was scripted, so he did have an intention of...
Oh, okay. Yo, that's lame if that was scripted. Because, the way he did it, he did a good job of making it seem like it was like a spur of the moment, but first of all, it wasn't even relevant to what he said. Right? It's not even relevant, and like to the whole purpose of the original video. So there's no need to talk about this. No need. If you're sitting in a car, like brewing beer or something, excuse me, why are you talking about what your preferences are? Excuse me, if I'm being honest, these types of things about like preferences shouldn't be things that you run around sharing willy-nilly to the world. I don't need to know what type of women BBT is interested in. Why do I need to know what type of women BBT is interested in? Am I setting him up on a blind date? No, he's clearly not interested in dating someone like me. I don't think I fit his stereotypes and physical attributes that he's looking for. So there's no need for me to know about what he's interested in, what he likes in a woman. So it's kind of, I can understand if it was like a spur of the moment statement, right? We all say crazy things at random from time to time, but the fact that this was scripted was a little bit cringe. He shouldn't have used such language, and he probably shouldn't even brought up the whole situation at all.
Actually saying these things like on camera without no hesitation whatsoever. He literally did not even want to fact check on what he was saying. He just wanted to blatantly objectify women, and that is just something that I just can't process with such a crappy person that can even say those things with no hesitation whatsoever. It's just ridiculous. man, oof. Like, the ignorance in some people sometimes can be very annoying too. And the fact that he had intention of what he was saying. He knew what he was saying. It was scripted. It was scripted.
Yeah, that part's
yes,
pretty
I did
cringe.
fact check this. It was scripted. So he wasn't saying that he was trying to blatantly objectify women. He was trying to have an intention that, oh, you're insecure with your body? Oh, no. I just like biological women, just like how they are. Yeah, sure. That's a good stance of taking it. I don't know what.
There's nothing wrong with that take, but would it? He didn't say anything about people who are insecure about their bodies. I don't think, did he? Right? I don't know where the insecurity is coming in.
BBT was honestly thinking, I don't know, like, sometimes he plays a role in front of the camera, sometimes he doesn't, but whether or he was playing a role or not, it was still not a good decision to even begin with, of him just saying these things or whatever.
Yeah, why would he bring up the topic? It's not relevant.
So with this opinion that he's stating on the homebrewing video, I would say that now he's becoming aggressively more of a favorite reactor. Well, to be fair, he wasn't really a favorite reactor of mine because I had my doubts with him in the beginning. But with this thing that he had with what he said about this, it makes my honest opinions become more apparent. It just makes them become more apparent that BBT was already bad to the. He went to bad reactor to worst reactor. Like, I don't like that. That's just crazy for me, honestly. Like, oh my goodness. Like, and I'm surprised not a lot of people were aware of him. Like, some people went past their head.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's not a controversial statement. It's not a controversial statement at all. So, like to me, honestly, I'm honestly pretty shocked that this is bringing such a big stink. Like, in any case, right? Like, I mean, there is a demographic of people who are very vigilant about such things, and they're very adamant about trying to stay like all prim and proper and in step with mainstream media narratives. But especially considering that a lot of the viewers are children, I am surprised that there's such like a militant response to it. It's such a vigilant response where really it's just a simple statement. Vulgar, yes. Tasteless, yes. But the opinion nonetheless is valid because he wants to be with the type of women he wants to be with, right? He's not saying that you have to be interested in his type of woman too. You bro, if let it so, if you're interested in trans women, go right ahead when you're of age, of consent, of course. You don't, but one person's cup of tea does not have to be your cup of tea as well. Otherwise, we would be peeing a lot more frequently than we do.
I read some of the comments too. Like, it wasn't really, they really didn't state much with what he said. With BBT, I guess since he's playing a role for the camera, like, oh, like, he's just cracking jokes and whatever. But no, not this time. This was clearly the intention that he was trying to invoke. He wanted to blatantly objectify women. I'm not even joking, and not even looking at it once like, oh, yeah. That's
the part that I don't get. It's like, like if you're reading a script, it's like, should I be talking about the type of women I'm into in this video? You know what? I think that talking about the type of women I'm attracted to would be perfect for a video about brewing beer. Like, what? It is so out of bounds.
Yeah, you know what? This doesn't look okay, but we're gonna go with it. Man, the ignorance is what triggers me into thinking what he's not the type of person to think before he speaks. Honestly, he will just think that he.
But this is not a spur of the moment statement. That's the only thing that is like that I'm upset about, is because like his language was so crass and the subject he brought up was not relevant, and he decided to write that in. It's just like, maybe it does make it seem like he's obsessed with the subject more than he should be. I don't know. But he said that he's an incel, so I'm curious to see what part that comes into play.
Has a free will to whatever he says about what he can say, what he can do. on camera. It's just absolute ridiculousness, and I'm glad that I was able to live in such a community that actually supported me with this. Before recording this video, I had a lot of people wanting to support me, wanting to get the statement out to the LGBTQ community, and saying that it's okay it's okay to feel how your body, if you like, willing to give surgery out to like yourself or whatever to make your body more comfortable, then that's totally suitable and makes you happy. That the main theme is to make yourself happy. And if changing your own body, or if like getting like a certain plastic surgeries or whatever it is to give you that pursuit of happiness, then go for it. You know, I'm glad that people are trying to look for that happiness.
And here we have, I mean, I'm not gonna dwell on this too much because I've talked about this in other videos, but generally speaking, and I'm just speaking generalities, because there may be some fringe cases. So I'm not going to pretend to speak on behalf of all people, but generally speaking, transitioning is a bad idea. It's one way ticket to scoliosis if you go through all of the the gender transition procedures. Not only is it very expensive, most people, based on the longest term studies that we have at our disposal that spanned, what was it, like 30, 40 years, their mental health is worse post-op than pre-op. Now, there in the shorter term, there are studies where it's mixed, but as to whether or not it improves or decreases mental health. But disregarding the mental aspect, the physical aspect, there are all types of physical complications that can occur during these surgeries. And beyond that, lots of people end up having life-threatening life-threatening or lifelong injuries and conditions that develop due to the whole transitioning. So, transitioning for the vast majority of people who are considering it is not a good idea. But I will say this, and here's where I'll break from a lot of people who ideologically sit where I sit. If you want to transition and you're an adult, you have the right to make that decision. I am not on board with people saying that we should, get rid of or criminalize, transition procedures. I think people should be allowed to do that. The nation of America is built on freedom, right? It's built on, not being, told by the government, oh, this is right, so you should go do this, or this is good, so you should read this, or that's bad, so you shouldn't read that, that's bad, so you shouldn't do that, unless you're like going out harming other people. And generally, especially if you're single, right, or like you don't have like a lot of familial ties, transitioning only really, if it's going to cause negative effects, it's only going to hurt you. So you should have the right to go transition if you want to. I will always, say that if you want to transition, you should be able to transition. And that's just a stance that I have. Now, what Lennox O is speaking to is kind of like the pursuit of happiness. People should do whatever they want. People should do whatever they can to be happy. And I would frankly push back against that as a Christian, because it's pretty standard Christian belief that pursuing happiness is not the actual key to happiness. Like there are multiple passages in the scriptures, Psalms and Proverbs, at least, if not other books of the Bible, that speak to delighting in God, in His Word, is actually where joy can be found. Not seeking happiness, not seeking pleasurable things on earth, and not trying to like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna change myself this way, just so that I can be happy. Now, I know it's reductive for me to say that. It's not all that goes into it, but I'm just saying that it's not correct to tell people just do whatever it takes to make you happy. I mean, that's how you get women cheating on their boyfriends, and husbands, It's how you get husbands and boyfriends cheating on their significant others because they're just doing what they want to do, right? You know, someone looks hot and they want to have sex with them, so they do. But that's not an ethical way to live. That's an extremely selfish perspective, because you have to consider two things, right? First of all, is what you're doing going to affect other people? Now, for most people who are single, not in a relationship, that's not going to be as big of an equation, right? Because there just aren't those ties where what you're doing is going to affect other people substantially. But second of all, it's, you know, not just what makes me happy, but what's best for me. There are plenty of things that I'm sure could make me happy, but I'm not going to do them because they're either sinful or later on down the line it's going to lead to sadness. It's just not the best things for me to do, so I'm not going to do them, right? So there's a lot more to consider than immediate happiness, and I think if we make an idol out of being happy, then we send ourselves down a dangerous road, and you know, another thing too is if you look back in previous generations and you look at the ones that are viewed as good and the ones that are viewed as bad, the ones that are viewed as good were not the ones that you know, did whatever they could to be happy. They pursued happiness. They were like, oh, I'm just gonna do whatever I can to be happy. Screw everyone else. Screw every other incentive to do anything. I just want to be happy. That's it. It's people who were willing to, you know, lay down their lives, sacrifice their lives for other people. It's folks who they had, you know, morals. They had convictions. They're folks who, you know, who stood for things that are good and opposed things that were evil. And doing both of those things is not always going to make you happy. But I think that, you know, people need to be okay with not being happy all the time, especially in the immediate context. Whether that's because, you know, what you're doing is going to, in the future, bring you happiness, or it's just better for you overall. So, you know, the idea that people should just do whatever they can do to be happy is just, it's frankly, it's bad advice. Oh, hey, official Mike, what's up?
Whatever, but some people in the background would freaking want to doubt that. Look for that happiness.
What the heck happened to the captions? My guy. Why is everything so small? Hold on. Let me reset that. Okay.
So whatever, but some people in the background, plastic surgeries or whatever it is to give you that pursuit of happiness, and go for it, you know? I'm glad that people are trying to look for that happiness or whatever, but some people in the background would freaking want to doubt that sometimes, and they think
I'm in the background and I want to doubt that. Okay. All right. Okay, hold on. Let's Oh goodness. Visual gags are fun.
that they can say that, oh, biologically women are better. No, just people that are wanting to change.
And that's a problem too. I mean, it's, you know, there are two aspects. There's a preference aspect and there's a value aspect. Preference, you can have whatever preference you want, but when it comes to value, all human beings have the same inherent value because we're all made in the image of God. God created all of us. So, you know, it is wrong to say that, you know, trans women are not as valuable as women, or, you know, they're not as good in a very general moral or ethical sense. That is wrong to do. So I would agree with Lennox on that.
Their own bodies or what people, and that makes me upset. And I feel like that's why I had to make this video, because it's just very aggravating that BBT wanted to consider people for like their body type or whatever, and that's just not.
I mean, bro, people do that. People do that, right? I mean, for example, Lennox O, would you date an ugly woman, right? Or is that bad to do because you're judging based on the body type? Like, come on. At a certain point, like, I think it needs to be accepted that we are getting into kind of ridiculous territory here.
Humane decision or a logical decision to make. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit more serious video than normal. I feel like I just had to get the statement out there because I just feel like he couldn't get away from this. Like he could possibly get canceled for this but I'm not making this a cancellation video. This is more like a response video / opinion video, and just want to show you my representation of it. I know a lot of people that seen this video have probably given their representation of it somewhere around the world, but this is my representation of it. I mean, if you agree with or disagree with what he is saying is not like what he with what he's saying is not what he's truly meant, then sure, you can agree with me, disagree with me. I don't really care, but like I just want to know that people can be extremely offended by this, especially people with the LGBTQ community who are very insecure about their bodies can be extremely offended by this. So I just don't see how I can give him a pass for that, for him saying that he was just making a joke out of it.
And that's a calculus that you'll need to make too. Put these types of statements out. You have to consider, how people are going to react to what you say. I mean, there should always be something that you consider when you make these statements. I mean, for me, honestly, because, I have things that are certainly not, I have opinions that are certainly not, current thing opinions, right? They kind of go against the mainstream narratives. So, I do have to like make calculus where it's like, do I particularly care if people are upset or offended by my opinions? And I've pretty much decided, nah, don't really care. Because look, like at the end of the day, my opinions are my opinions. I'm allowed to have opinions, especially if they have basis in scripture. As a Christian, I feel like those positions that are based in scripture are good to express, especially in a world that's rejecting Christ more and more staunchly. At the end of the day, if you're sensitive, you can leave. Like you can just not watch the video and watch something that makes you feel more comfortable, that doesn't challenge your worldview at all. You can just watch whoever parrots whatever you want to hear. That's fine, right? And I think that to a certain extent that's going to be expected, right? Like I don't think that people who don't like my content need to watch my content. They can if they want to, and I'm happy for their views. But at the end of the day, if you decide to not watch the video because you don't like the opinion, that's okay. but at the end of the day, I'm okay with you disagreeing with me. That's fine. And I also appreciate Lennox O here. In large part, it seems like being okay with people disagreeing with him. And I also like that this is not like a cancellation, an exposure, or it's kind of like an exposing video, but it's not like a cancellation video. He's just saying his thoughts, his honest opinions. That's all that I would expect from a content creator who does commentary. And I think that it's a good thing for him to do. Hey, that's literally what I'm doing right now. So I think that all things considered, even though I disagree with Lennox O's take, I think he handled himself pretty well in this video, and I appreciate the fact that he's being gracious to people who disagree with him to some extent.
And just pulling a I'm straight card, because apparently that's his excuse for things like I'm straight or whatever BBT does and says. And
I mean, it's, from his statement, it sounds like he is.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'm hoping you learned something today with this whole situation. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Reese's Pieces.
All right, interesting. I mean, it's nice to see this trend towards more serious videos from Lennox O. His last video that I saw wasn't particularly that serious. I like reacting to serious content, and so I hope that he has more serious videos in the future. Let's see. We do have a handful of comments actually here where it says, it doesn't mean there's going to be beefaroni between the two of you now. Is Keemstar going to report on this? Nexo says, don't know. That's fair. I mean, no need to go scorch earth necessarily. I did not know that BBT said that. Now feels weird. I mean, yeah, it was a weird comment to make, regardless of whether or not his opinion is valid. Like he didn't need to share it there. Let's see here. NGGYU said he swears way too much. I mean, that's true. Way too inappropriate for my liking. Yeah, that's fair. Says always seems like a loony drunk. Says has a I don't care about anyone but myself personality that seems so vain. Yeah, true. I mean, although maybe he's doing whatever it makes him happy. Go pursue that BBT. Let's see here. Seems so vain, disrespectful, and rude, and it seems to disrespect the LGBT. Yeah, we've heard that all before. It's final nail in the coffin. Worst reactor in YouTube. Worst reactor in YouTube. As a reactor or as a person? If you're saying as a person, I understand with your perspective, right? But that's different than saying that he's bad at reacting. Now, granted, I can't speak to how good he is at reacting because I've never seen. I've never seen his reactions. Really. Let's see here. And how does BBT get to be the most subbed reacting on the platform when others, like the Liberator, when he did reactions, have far superior content and moral values? I don't know. It could be marketing, thumbnails. I don't know. Mr. B said what BBT said was downright awful. Sure, 90% of the video he said stuff like I'm straight, I love women, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was annoying. But what he said in the video was nail in the coffin, shows true colors. I mean, it's fine. Maybe the colors are in the color of the straight flag. I don't know. Oh, interesting. But one thing I noticed is that he never mentioned how he's an incel, which I was looking for, because the whole incel thing is a very interesting topic in the whole subculture. Extremely niche, they're very marginalized, but they also have very harmful negative opinions too. So I'm a little bit disappointed. Like, it seemed like it was kind of clickbait because he didn't really even say the word incel in the video, I don't think. So I'm a little disappointed about that. But hey, I mean, I do clickbait sometimes with my titles too. It's not 100% like, it's not 100% clickbait, but I lure people in, and it's part of the model, right? So, but hey, Linuxo, excuse me. But hey, Linuxo, it's a well done video, even though I don't agree with your take there. I appreciate your graciousness and being okay with people disagreeing with you. I think we need more people like that on both sides of the aisle so that we can have constructive dialogues about this type of thing, rather than people just hating each other and then escalating the rhetoric until people say it's a genocide and it's time to kill people. But anyways, I all that to say, I appreciate your video even though I disagree. So keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to reacting to more of your content as you put more stuff out too. All right, we have official Mike in the house. Let's go. He said he's gonna buy Terrifier series in Antrum because demons are what? Bro, you're just trying to poke me, and I'm like, you think I'm a bear, right? You're just gonna poke me. Over here in the chat, being like, demons aren't real. Sure. Mike said I'm planning to make a YTP on Trudeau where Trudeau goes to the Mushroom Kingdom. Okay, I'd watch that. All human beings are equal except me. No, it's not true. No, you have equal worth to every other human. Every other human is equal worth. That's just how it goes. Sorry to break the news to you, but you're not subhuman. Official Mike said I have preferences, but I mean everyone is equal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have a type. Yeah, exactly. See, Official Mike has the best take on this. Official Mike said I have preferences, but I mean everyone is equal. But I have a type romantically, but I'm not going to be rude about it. Very well spoken, extremely well put, right? Everyone has preferences. Entirely fair. Everyone should be allowed to have their own preferences as well. But everyone is equal, right? This doesn't mean that people are, because they're trans or straight or white or black or male or female, whatever, doesn't mean that, you can use those demographic lines to justify like bullying them or treating people poorly. Nope, because everyone's equal. Fine to have a type romantically. Perfectly fine. But it's not fine to be rude about it, which I think BBT was guilty of, especially with a lot of his crass language. So, very good nuanced take from Official Mike there. I'm surprised. Well done. Mike said I make my content unless I get a complaint from the person parenting them. to stop parodying them as I want. I mean, yeah, it's fair, right? Like, I mean, I personally, I think it was a mistake. The one time I caved to audience pressure was in taking down. There was like a pretty tasteless joke that Braylon, he went by Spoopy Leaf or Spoopy or Spoopy Frixley at the time, had made about having the cure for cancer. I posted a clip of it. People were so upset about it, and so I decided to delete the clip. In hindsight, I don't think it was like the right thing to do to delete the clip after posting it. Now, granted, I didn't have much better content at the time, but me now, that's not the type of content that I would post. But I think it's fine to put out the clip. You know, I didn't say anything wrong. It was him who made the joke. So, you know, there's nothing really wrong that I did that I need to like delete to cover up or anything. But yeah, generally caving to audience or cultural pressure is just not a good move. Unless you've made the calculus, right? And you've decided that you don't want to be yourself. You want to be the spokesperson for your audience. You want to reflect your audience's values and your audience's opinions and wishes and desires. Now, if that's what you want to do, if you want to be a spokesperson for your audience, then go ahead, right? But that's not what I want to do on my platform. So I've decided to forego, you know, succumbing to any cultural pressure or bullying, you know, from outside forces. Professor Mike Mike said, like, there's a transgender who's top notch at a job, or a white man who does half the job and pick the transgender because transgender person is best at the job. Yeah, of course. I mean, you have to judge people on like on their merits and the job that they do, right? Which is not necessarily tied to whether or not they're trans or cisgender. Now, there's one. Hold on, here we go. Okay, I gotta hit the next topic, boys. Let's go. Now, if there's one story that you've been following for the past week, I'm pretty sure it's Tucker Carlson getting fired from Fox News. And while Tucker Carlson went out on Twitter and actually posted a video of himself, you know, talking about the whole situation, and granted some very nebulous and vague terms, there also was some exclusive footage that I was able to get my hands on of Tucker Carlson actually getting fired, and then the immediate aftermath of this. And so I want to play this footage for you guys because I'm not sure if you've seen this this footage that came out of Tucker Carlson actually getting fired.
Tucker, you're fired. What am I being fired for? I'm good at my job. Eminem has announced the hot Eminem will no longer be wearing her trademark sexy stilettos and will instead have flats. Why? Perhaps it's so she can more easily pour over our border. January 6th, it's like 9/11 for cat ladies. So it should have made a much bigger splash when the FBI announced Ray Epps would no longer be wearing his trademark sexy stilettos and instead have flats in all of his wanted photos.
Wait, what?
After a series of scandals, Fox News has announced that owner and founder Rupert Murdoch would no longer be wearing his trademark sexy stilettos.
Instead, switching to androgynous flats.
What is this?
All of those things are true. You're angry with me for saying facts. We never announced I was switching to flats. Look, I'm not Donald Trump. Sometimes I make mistakes. I do talk about sexy M&Ms. I have gotten things wrong, for sure. But I was using my platform to say something, while everyone else in cable news is just regurgitating the same banal nonsense. Every statement a string of empty buzzwords. Because buzzwords don't get you fired. They don't cost you anything, that's why people say them. And in this country, the wealthy are afraid of nothing more than paying a price. Perfect, I'm glad we have an understanding. Goodbye. And exactly how do you think?
Yo, honestly, the best closing monologue of Tucker Carlson ever.
You're gonna replace me. Hola, me llamo Tucker Carlson. Bienvenidos.
Yo.
Our democracy, white supremacy, extremism, safest election in history.
Yo, wait, you actually know what that's a reference to? You know what that's a reference to? It's That's let me see, where is it? I know there's a, let me see where I can find this. There's that one video. Anyone in the chat, let me know of what this video is called. It's the one where you've got all the news people saying the same thing. News anchors. Oh, news anchors saying the same thing. I guess here it is. Okay. Here it is. This is kind of what he was.
I am Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned
plaguing our country.
The sharing of bias.
Honestly, in hindsight, you know, after watching this a few times, it actually just looks like, you know, the majority of news people are mad at like two people for saying something that they didn't agree with, and so they're doing a veiled attack on him.
And false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
Some media aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to
This is crazy.
bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Best delivery.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely...
Anyways. It goes on and on and on. But that's just kind of background on, you know, that's just some background on you know, what that was a parody of. But in all seriousness, Tucker Carlson did put out a real video, and this was the statement that Tucker Carlson put out.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population.
Some background on this: he spent like the first few days of the week just playing golf and going out to eat with his wife, which he said he hasn't been able to do, at least for dinners on weeknights, for years.
But now, so that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state. That's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxies won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue, and so it won't. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work. When honest people say what's true, calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink, and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
All right. So not a lot of details there regarding what it is that Tucker Carlson plans on doing in the future. But I think that, Tucker Carlson did give us a surprising amount of clues as to what is next for him in the world of cable news. Let's see, give me 1 second. Just need to pull something up. Here it is. Okay. So first of all, if you take a look at the background that Tucker Carlson has here in this video, it looks eerily familiar to the background here, which to me begs the question of, does Tucker Carlson own the Tucker Carlson Today studio? Because if so, it looks like he shot this whole social media video at the Tucker Carlson Today studio, and it could signal that he's going to shoot his future show from this same place. Now, another thing too is he brought up earlier in the video that he likes debates. People arguing about consequential things. Normal people are smarter than people on cable television, which to me signals that he actually wants to have these types of debates with normal people on his next show. And of course, he confirmed that there is going to be a next show, I think, by saying in the end that he'll see us soon. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens next. We don't have a lot of details, so there's not a whole lot that we can say. But at the end of the day, I think this is probably gonna be a good thing for Tucker Carlson, a bad thing for Fox News, and I'm just looking forward to seeing where he's gonna go. I hope he joins the Blaze because I have a subscription with Blaze TV. But wherever he goes, I'll check his stuff out. Although I'm not the biggest fan of all his takes, I do think that he leans authoritarian in some respects. Excuse me. But he did do some good journalism, some good digging into stuff that like the FBI was involved with, and all sorts of things like the CIA, a lot of other stuff. You can go watch his old videos on YouTube. But yeah, it's a solid dude. I like his investigation stuff at least. So, all right. Let's see here. Now, I'm quite sure that a lot of you guys know that there are some presidential candidates, people who are running for president in 2024. Many of them have declared that they're running for president. Not all of them have, but some of them have. And for those of you who are not aware, there are actually quite a few. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people who've declared that they're running for president, and a handful more who are very likely to do so in the future. But I figured that it would be fun to take a look at all the people who've declared that they're running for president, watch some clips of them, with some introductory speeches, and then based on their speeches, kind of see how good of a candidate I think they are and how likely they are to win the election and to capture the hearts and minds of voters based on some introductory statements, which granted I have not seen these and I have not dug into a lot of the positions of these politicians, but at the same time a lot of my viewers probably haven't done deep dives into these folks either. So I don't think that I'll be going in with a more cursory amount of knowledge than most viewers. So let's kick things off by starting with Uncle Joe. Who else? The incumbent himself put out a campaign video, I believe, announcing that he's running for president, saying, "Let's finish the job," which means for the nation. All right. Fire trailer music. I'm feeling it.
Freedom. Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it.
The tough thing about this messaging here is it kind of runs counter to his presidency. But I think this is the one case in which if he lies, with both him and Trump, if he lies, people are going to see right through it because they know that he has a track record, right? So he can say, oh yeah, I'm pro-union, but then when he, goes and messes around with the train unionization, the unionization of unionization of interstate trains all across the country, it doesn't matter how many times he says he's pro-union, if, he's not acting pro-union. The same thing with being pro-freedom. Doesn't matter how much he says, he's pro-freedom if he doesn't really have a track record of establishing freedom. But that said, I will say this is good messaging. These are the types of things that a presidential candidate should be saying if they want to be successful in 2024.
But around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what healthcare decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
There's a lot of lies there. It would take me way too long to unpack.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead...
Bro, high key, this dude, this whole time has been battling to keep his soul in his body. That's the battle over a soul that he's involved in right now.
We have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election. Because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country.
Thank you for choosing us.
Every generation of Americans has faced a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights. And this is our moment.
I will say this is a wonderfully done commercial. Whoever made this commercial deserves a lot of money because this is very well done.
So if you're with me, go to joebiden.com and sign up. Let's finish this job. I know we can. Because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
I mean, yo, fire ad, great ad. I think if he cuts out some of the stuff talking about, some of the divisive language about MAGA Republicans, this, if he keeps on hammering it home, could get him across the finish line because, let's see here, because if you hammer, messaging, into the skulls of Americans over time, they might start to believe that it's either true or that he's changed for the better. So I will say, just because the ad presentation is on point, and also incumbents are generally viewed as safe picks, I'll give him an A. Like, I don't think that he'll win, to be honest, but I will say that I'll give him an A just because I'm actually extremely impressed by that commercial. And if he keeps on doing a campaign push, he might make himself seem more likable and electable than he is. Now here we have Donald Trump now We did react to his initial announcement to run for president, but he did put out this video in reaction to Joe Biden's announcement video. So let's take a look at that here.
You could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and put them together, and they would not have done the damage Joe Biden has done to our nation in just a few short years. Not even close. Thanks to Joe Biden's socialist spending calamity, American families are being decimated by the worst inflation in half a century.
Some of those policies were started by Joe Biden. Some of those policies were started by Trump and Joe Biden's acting policies that make us feel those effects now, but it kicks those effects in so that we don't feel them later. So if he keeps on doing things like raising the interest rates and stuff to reduce some of the deflation that Donald Trump accelerated when he did basically the stimulus checks with COVID, then maybe in 2, 3, 4 years we'll see ourselves at the other end of this financial mess.
Banks are failing, our currency is crashing, and the dollar will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat in over 200 years. Real wages have been falling 24 months in a row. In other words, under Biden, workers have gotten a pay cut each and every month for 2 straight years. We have surrendered our energy independence, just like we surrendered in Afghanistan, which we had just a short time ago, and the price of gasoline just hit a 5-month high, and it's going much higher than that. Under my leadership, we had the most secure border in U.S. history by far. Never had a border like this. Under Biden, the southern border has been abolished and millions of illegal aliens have been released into our communities. What's happening now is beyond belief. They're coming in from mental institutions and prisons. They're all being emptied. They're being dumped into the United States of America. Many of these people are very dangerous. They're being dumped. We're like a dumping ground. Our cities have been overrun with homelessness, drug addicts, and violent criminals who are being released from jail en masse with no retribution whatsoever, while law enforcement is weaponized against law-abiding conservatives or Republicans or people they just don't like. Our children are being indoctrinated and mutilated by left-wing freaks and zealots. The senior ranks of our military have gone completely woke, and our military is suffering greatly. Biden has totally humiliated our nation on the world stage, starting with the Afghanistan disaster.
I will say one bad thing about this is he keeps on talking about how bad Joe Biden is. You can't run your entire campaign based on how bad Joe Biden is, because Joe Biden is as bad as he is. He has to be able to run on his own merits. And if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to distinguish yourself from the other candidates who are doubtlessly also criticizing Joe Biden.
Perhaps the most embarrassing event in the history of our country. It meant so much to our enemies when they watched that horrible retreat. Russia is teaming up with China. Iran is days away from a nuclear bomb, not even thinkable. Ukraine has been devastated by an invasion that would never, ever have happened if I was president. And Joe Biden has led us to the very brink of World War III. They say Trump was right about everything. Well, I'm not predicting World War III, but I will say this. We're very close, and they're only talking about nuclear weapons. On top of it all, Biden is the most corrupt president in American history, and that's not even close. Nobody can believe what's going on, with, again, no retribution whatsoever. With such a calamitous and failed presidency, it is almost inconceivable that Biden would even think of running for re-election. You know what happened in the last election? They cheated and they rigged the election. But I promise you this, when I stand on that debate stage and compare our records, it will be radical Democrats' worst nightmare, because there's never been a record as bad as they have. And our country has never been through so much. There has never been a greater contrast between 2 successive administrations in all of American history, ours being greatness and theirs being failure. With your support in the election, We will defeat Joe Biden in 2024. We will rescue our economy. We will crush inflation. We will stop the invasion on our southern border. We will restore our nation's dignity, and we will prevent World War III from happening. Together, we will all make America great again. Thank you.
All right, I mean, that was generally good. I think the worst part about it, though, is he claimed again that the election was rigged and the election was stolen from him. And true or not, that should not be a part of the campaign at all. You know, because one thing is, you know, no matter what the actual case was, it makes him look like a sore loser, and it makes it seem like he thinks he's going to win no matter what. Like, if he wins, it's going to be legitimate, but if he loses, he thinks it's going to be unfair and rigged and stolen from him, which is a really bad approach to going into a presidential election or debates. So I was going to give him an S tier, but I think because of the whole election was rigged stuff, I'll have to give him an A tier. Still ahead of Joe Biden, but that definitely bumps him down a bit. Next up, next up we have Asa Hutchinson here. He made an announcement announcing his campaign. I don't know too much about this guy. Bro, this dude is like 5 American flags behind. No, 6 American flags behind him. I know that dude's a patriot.
Bentonville is a big part of my life story, but so is Gravette, where I grew up on a farm and learned the importance of family, faith, and community. I also learned hard work from my dad by cleaning out chicken houses and building fences. And my life story also includes Springdale, where I was inspired by teachers who pushed me to learn. And it was in Springdale that my political awareness began with the nation's divide over the Vietnam War and the struggle for civil rights. But let's come back to Bentonville. I was born in the old Bentonville Hospital. My first law office was across from the square from where we stand today. I tried jury trials in this courthouse behind us. I built Bentonville's first FM radio station.
Oh?
I served as Bentonville's city attorney, but most importantly, this is where Susan and I started our family and spent some of our happiest years living on 15 acres of rocks and hills west of town in a double-wide mobile home.
This dude is pitching himself as this dude is very successfully pitching himself as a happy family man, but there isn't really much here that really says president material, except for the fact that he really likes the American flag. Like, my goodness.
It was here on these steps over 30 years ago that I announced my run for the United States Senate. At that time, Arkansas was a blue state, and the Republican Party was pretty much non-existent. I stepped up to take on runaway federal spending, to fight for a strong national defense, to support the life of unborn children, and to unleash the private sector of our economy. In other words, I ran as a conservative Republican when being a Republican was like having a career-ending handicap. In fact, lawyers told me that. I continued to fight the establishment, and over time, guess what? We won. That was the beginning, and since then, I've been a consistent conservative through my time as leader of the party in the United States Congress and as governor. And now I bring that same vigor to a fight in another battle, and that battle is for the future of our country and the soul of our party. Today, I am announcing that I am a candidate for President of the United States.
Hold on, wait a second. There's something hilarious here. Because let's see here. Concession. Let's see, where is it? Where's the guy? Anyways, in Succession, there's actually a character who's running for president, but people decide that he's unelectable because he keeps on licking his lips and it starts to look weird and creepy. And look what we see here.
Today, I am announcing that I am a candidate for President of the United States.
like in this very short video, he's already licked his lips like multiple times. I just thought that was funny. Interesting. I personally think that was not great. It was bland. Didn't seem like he had any actual vision for the nation at all. It didn't really sound like he even knew what he wants to do. Frankly, I would give him a D tier. D tier. Seems like an old dude, no vision, nothing interesting about him. He looks like, he's pretty happy living with his family, so I don't know why he's deciding to run for president instead of just living with his family on that 15 acres or whatever. Sorry, I know it sounds harsh, but I mean, that's where I'm at. Next up, we have RFK here. He's been causing quite a bit of a stir. People say he's extremely anti-establishment. Here's his announcement video.
That rebellion was in part against empire, but the spirit of that rebellion was a fury that the colonists had against the merger, the corruption.
Does his voice always sound like that? Hold on, let's look at this interview.
And we are honored to have him on our show tonight. He joins us now. Bobby, thanks so much for coming on. So you are, of course, being dismissed as a vaccine nut, but watching your announcement today, it wasn't about pharma even so much as it was about America's place in the world and what do we do about it. If you wouldn't mind summarizing for our viewers where you think we are and what you think we ought to do.
Well, I gave a long speech, Tucker, and thank you again for having me on.
I don't know what's up with his voice, but I frankly think that will hinder hinder how positively people view him. And I think that's, and I'm not necessarily being like discriminatory or whatever. I just think that's how he's going to come off to other people, because let's say he tries to hit on, somebody else for their health or for their age. With the way his voice sounds, someone could easily volley back. I think that people aren't accustomed to a president with that type of voice. Now, granted, he could have a very strong platform, which could, completely negate that.
Of course.
And for that very kind of an introduction, I think that the general theme of my speech was this corrupt merger of state and corporate power, which is turning our country into a corporate kleptocracy, into a system of socialism for the rich, and this kind of a cushy socialism for the rich, and this kind of brutal, merciless capitalism for the poor. It keeps us in a state of war. It bails out banks at the same time that last month, the United States government told 30 million people it was cutting their their food stamp checks by 90%.
Wow.
It took 15 million people off of Medicare. The same month, it gave $300 million to the Silicon Valley Bank and tapped up the cost of the...
How did I not know about this? How did I not know about this? That seems like major news that should be shared publicly. How is that not covered anywhere?
Ukraine war to $113 billion. We're sending $113 billion to the Ukraine. The entire budget of EPA is $12 billion. The budget of CDC is $11 billion. we have 57% of American citizens could not put their hands on $1,000 if they have an emergency. A quarter of our citizens are hungry. So we're cutting welfare and food stamps by 90%. And we're paying, and we're bailing out the bankers. We're paying for a war that, we can't afford. And with the way that we do this is by printing money. We've printed 10 centuries of money in the last 14 years. And that caused the inflation, which raises food prices, which is a tax on the poor. So, we've raised food prices for basic foods like chicken, dairy, and milk by 76% in the last 2 years. And now we're cutting people's food stamps and bailing out banks the same month. It doesn't make any sense. And we need to get rid of this kind of corporate control of our government. It comes from our democracy is devolving into kind of a corporate plutocracy.
I would think that what you just said, and I'll just be honest, I agree with most of it. But even if I didn't, I would think, boy, that's a really interesting thing to say. You have a coherent worldview. You've written a lot of books on these topics. You've clearly thought about it. You're not in it for the money. So don't these issues deserve a wide hearing before the public entering a presidential year? It seems to me that they do.
I would think they would, and particularly the issues of war. And, my son went over and fought in the Ukraine. As I said today, I think people, the major doyens, sort of the most respected diplomatic gurus like Henry Kissinger and Jack Matlock and Larry Wilkinson have all said the Ukraine war is a huge problem for our country because from a geopolitical standpoint, it's driving the Russians close to the Chinese, which is the worst thing for us. But we're there for the right reasons because we have tremendous compassion for the Ukrainian people and the illegal invasion, the brutality, and also their valor and their courage. My own son was serving over there. He joined a special forces unit as a machine gunner. He fought in the Kharkiv offensive. Americans care about the underdog. They care about that kind of suffering. But the question is, why are we in the Ukraine? Because Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, said that we're there to exhaust the Russians. President Biden has said that we're there to deplatform, to depose Vladimir Putin. And if that's why we're there, and we're killing a lot of Ukrainians as pawns in a proxy war between two great powers. Here's one last thing I would say. Nobody talks about this. There's 14,000 Ukrainian civilians who have died, but 300,000 troops. The Russians are killing Ukrainians at a 7-to-1 to 8-to-1 ratio. They cannot sustain this. What we're being told about this war is just not true.
No, it's not true. And I would hope, despite the fact you criticize their advertisers, other media outlets would have enough respect for our country and for its voters to give what you said a hearing, because I think it's really important. And we're, again, grateful that you came on our show tonight. You're always welcome. Bobby Kennedy Jr., thank you.
Thank you very much, Tucker.
It's crazy to me that I've learned more about what's going on in the country from that 5-minute clip than I have from listening to talk radio for the past week. But I will say that I'm trying to think. I think I'll have to put him here because, well, hold on, let me see. I will put him over here because I think he's a bit of a doomer. He's a bit negative. And I think that negativity, or look how bad things are right now, messaging is not going to work, because anyone can say things are bad right now, but someone with a strong roadmap for success with the country can say, well, here's what we need to do next. But I do like how he did bring up a lot of things that the country's doing now that needs to change. That's a lot closer to what Trump should have been doing, except for being like, oh, the economy's bad now. Like, okay, that's not the same as explaining what exactly Trump is doing that's harming the economy, or that Biden is doing that's harming the economy, right? So, better messaging there, but probably not as good stage presence. And a bit of a doomer mindset might hinder his campaign, but it's still fascinating and it's going to bring some very important topics to the forefront of the political discussion over the next year or so. Now, up next, we have Nikki Haley, who I've gone on record saying I don't think she'll be able to win. I still stand by that. I actually heard, Mark Levin lambasting her today, or not today, but this week. And Mark Levin is a very influential person in the conservative movement. Nonetheless, hold on. I was thinking of Nikki Haley. Marianne Williamson here announces that she's running for president in 2024. Now, if you guys don't remember, she was actually was running for president in 2020. She seemed to have a fairly Kanye West-esque type of platform, except she believes in chakras, not Jesus. But let's see what she has to say here in her 2024 presidential campaign announcement. Ooh! Man! That stereo audio, they really decided to use all of this to its effect. My goodness. I'm not even anything. This is awful. Sounds terrible. Why can't these people who are giving out these speeches with professional setups fix their audio?
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Thank you for coming. I know some of you actually came from somewhat far away, some of you from other places in the country. I also want to thank those of you who are on live stream.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe.
What the heck was that? What the heck was that? Why did it just cut off there? That's so weird. Hold on, let me see. Is there a good video where she... Okay, yeah, here we go.
I'm Marianne Williamson, and when I was growing up, America had a vibrant middle class. The average American worker had decent benefits, could afford a home, could afford a car, could afford a yearly vacation, could afford for one member of the couple to stay home if they wished, and could afford to send their kids to college. But over the last 50 years, there's been a massive transfer of wealth to the tune of $50 trillion from the bottom 90% of Americans to the top 1%, decimating America's middle class. We all owe President Biden a debt of gratitude for defeating President Trump in 2020. But with the things that they're going to be throwing at us in 2024, we need to submit to the American people an agenda of fundamental economic reform, universal health care, tuition-free colleges at state colleges and universities, higher education including tech schools, paternity and maternity leave, free child care, and a guaranteed living wage. These are things that are considered moderate positions in every other advanced democracy. But in the United States, people have been...
I don't... mandating, like, these, like, living wages, which is, like, we already have minimum wage policies, right? And things like free childcare as well. They're pretty left-wing positions, I will say. Even if they're not the worst left-wing positions in the world.
Trained to expect too little, the American people have been played. What the Democratic Party should do is to truly return to the principles of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, not just alleviate people's...
I'm sorry. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is the president that I hate the most. I don't hate the man personally. I just hated his presidency because the consequences of his policies led to the, keeping black people poor, but that's a discussion for another day.
Suffering, but offer them genuine economic reform, not just help people survive in an unjust system. The Democratic Party should end an unjust system. Washington, D.C., with a few brave exceptions, is filled with two major categories of leaders. Those who don't even care about all the suffering that's going on out there, and those who do not have the moral courage to fix it. Let me in there. I will. I'm Marianne Williamson, and I approve this message.
I don't know. I think that a big problem with her campaign is going to be how we're going to pay for it, because it sounds like she wants to offer a lot of free things. I will say, though, that her rhetoric here was pretty good, a lot more reasonable, kind of like less reliant on the whole chakras and the vibes and kind of like the spiritual beliefs that she held, which were admittedly a bit kooky when she was running. So it's nice to have that. I think I'd have to pit her here, actually. Surprising, you know, I would not have guessed that halfway through this tier list, I would be giving Marianne Williamson the next to top spot above Joe Biden and only behind Donald Trump. But here we are. Excuse me. I mean, I have to say that was a good speech, even if I don't agree with all the policies. Well done. Good rhetoric. I like the positive focus in focusing on the plan for the future rather than demonizing the current policies. If you spend more airtime talking about your plan, people are going to be more convinced by your plan. If you spend 5 seconds talking about it and 4 minutes talking about your opponent, I'm looking at you, Donald Trump. That's exactly what you did. Next up, we have Larry Elder, who is a black conservative. And I think he's a relative newcomer to the presidential candidate, presidential campaign landscape.
Larry Elder has been in California media forever, telling the truth in a really smart and sometimes hilarious way. He just ran for governor of California in a recall election against Gavin Newsom. He came up short after the state's media united to call him a white supremacist. Still makes us laugh. It's pretty offensive, actually. But he's not deterred. He has a major announcement for us tonight. Our friend Larry Elder joins us now. Larry, thanks so much for coming on. I'm sorry to laugh at that. I'm sure it's hard for you to laugh at, but it's so insane. So what are you up to next?
But Tucker, you almost have to laugh at it. It's so ridiculous. And actually, the actual quote was, Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy, Tucker. And the subheadline was, you've been warned. By the way, one other LA Times columnist referred to my views as white supremacist. Why? Because I'm pro-life, because I don't buy the notion that America is systemically racist, because I want secure borders, because I want us to be energy independent instead of energy dependent, because I know that our urban schools are a disaster. So for all those reasons, I was called the black face of white supremacy and a white supremacist in terms of my views. My announcement, Tucker, is that I'm announcing that I'm running for the presidency of the United States on your program. And thank you so much for giving me this honor and this platform. Of course. My website is elderforpresident.com, elderforpresident.com. And Tucker, the reason I'm doing this is because, you know, my father was a World War II vet. He served on the island of Guam. He was a Marine. First black Marines. They were called Montford Point Marines. My late older brother Kirk was in the Navy during the Vietnam era, and my little brother Dennis actually served in Vietnam in the Army. I'm the only one who didn't serve, and I don't feel good about that. I feel I have a moral, a religious, and a patriotic duty to give back to a country that's been so good to my family and to me, and that is why I'm doing this, Tucker.
Well, that's amazing. Congratulations. It's a big decision to make. I'm very familiar with your views. I think I agree with all of them pretty much. But if you were to narrow it down, just pick one or two, the issues that are animating you, that are making you feel like you've got to put everything on hold and do this. What are they?
Well, aside from the obvious things about the borders I mentioned before, the crime, the maligning of the police, there are a couple of things that I think our side does not spend enough time talking about. And that is the lie, the absolute disgraceful lie that the Democrats put on everything, which is that America is systemically racist. It isn't just a lie, Tucker. It's having real consequences. The police are pulling back. It's called the Ferguson effect or the George Floyd effect. And the people who are harmed by that are the very black and brown people that people on the left claim they care about. There's been a study that shows hundreds, if not thousands of people are now dead because the police are not engaging in proactive policing because they've been demoralized by people calling them racist. The second thing, Tucker, is the 10,000-pound elephant in the room regarding all of this stuff we see in Chicago and some of these other cities with these mass mobs is the lack of fathers in the home. Right now, today in America, 40% of all kids enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, 70% in the black community, 50% of Hispanics, 25% of whites. Now, that's the same percentage as was the case of blacks back in 1965. The question we should be asking ourselves is, how do we go from having 25% of black kids entering the world in 1965 without a father in the home, married to the mother, to 70% today? And the answer
The answer to that is FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Okay. Sorry, I'm just salty.
Is the welfare state. We've incentivized women to marry the government. We've incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. And if I do nothing else in this race but focus people on those two issues, I would have performed a service to my country.
I know that my father had the pivotal effect on my life. Was that true?
I just fact checked. FDR was not president.
For you, did your dad have an effect on the man you became?
Absolutely. And my father never knew his biological father, so it's not a death sentence. But my father believed in hard work. He ended up working, when he got out of the military, 2 full-time jobs cleaning toilets, Tucker. Started a little cafe when he was around 47 years old, ran it until his 80s. And when my dad died, he owned the property where the restaurant was, a little piece of property next door to it, plus a house from South Central that we still have in our own family. So the man had died with a net worth of a little bit under $1 million. Not too bad for a kid from Athens, Georgia, Jim Crow South, whose mom threw him out of the house at the age of 13. That's what you can do in America. My dad, by the way, was a lifelong Republican. He said this about Democrats. Democrats want to give you something for nothing. When you try to get something for nothing, you almost always end up getting nothing for something. And my mom was a lifelong, if I said Democrat, I meant Republican. My mom was a lifelong Democrat. And Tucker, they would have arguments over the kitchen table, but nobody called anybody a fascist. Nobody said you only care about the rich. Nobody said you only care about the poor. They were able to debate these things civilly, and we ought to be able to do that in this country.
Amen. That's a really inspiring message. Larry Elder, congratulations on this decision. I'm glad you made the announcement here, and we'll see you again. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Elderforpresident.com.
Subscribe to the...
That was good. That was good. I think because of the positive messaging that he used, the connecting of his personal life story to his campaign, I will say that I gotta give him. Is he S tier? Is he S tier, chat? Is he S tier? Is he S tier? I think he might be S tier. I mean, I couldn't think of a much better package or presentation that you could give, for your presidential candidacy. He was largely positive. He didn't focus on the current ills of society, although he did touch on them. And he mostly spoke about what he wants to change and also what it is about his personal life that connects to his goals as president. That's pretty much all that you could ask for, to be honest. So, I mean, well done, Larry Elder. That was actually pretty impressive. Now we've got Vivek Ramaswamy, who he's been all over the media, making a splash in waves and ripples, all types of liquid, liquid analogies can be made here.
We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. Faith, patriotism, and hard work have disappeared, only to be replaced by new secular religions like COVIDism, climatism, and gender ideology. We hunger to be part of something bigger than ourselves, yet we cannot even answer the question of what it means to be an American. Today, the woke left preys on that vacuum. They tell you that your race, your gender, and your sexual orientation govern who you are, what you can achieve, and what you're allowed to think. This is psychological slavery, and that has created a new culture of fear in our country that has completely replaced our culture of free speech in America. And that is why today I am announcing my run for President of the United States.
I will say, while I do think that messaging is overly negative, in a way that I think could maybe not connect with the majority of voters, that leans with me. I'm already leaning toward this dude. And I'm only 50 seconds in. So I think that says something about how good this speech is.
This isn't just a political campaign. This is a cultural movement to create a new American dream for the next generation. To me, the American dream means you believe in merit.
Here we go. Now we got some of the
positivity. That you get ahead
positivity.
in
Let's
this
go.
country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. It means you believe the people who we elect to run the government are the ones who actually run the government. not a federal bureaucracy that grows like a national cancer that is now metastasizing to the private sector. It means that the best ideas win instead of getting censored. It means you don't have to choose between speaking your mind freely and putting food on the dinner table. It means you believe these ideals form the backbone of the greatest nation on earth, that the rest of the world still looks up to as its example, not the Soviet Union in the last century, and not communist China in this one either. That is the new American dream. Ask yourself if you believe in these ideals. I think most of you do. I think most of you believe your neighbors do too, though you can't be sure because you don't feel free to talk about it anymore. You might disagree with each other about corporate tax rates or about whether ivermectin treats COVID, but those are details. We still agree on our nation's most fundamental principles. At least most of us do. Yet the goal of the ruling party in this country is to convince us that we are divided. Why? So they can accumulate more power for themselves. Well, you know what? I have a dream that we can be one people again. We have obsessed so much over our diversity and our differences that we forgot all the ways we're really just the same as Americans, bound together by a common set of ideals that brought together a divided, diverse, headstrong group of people 250 years ago. And I believe deep in my bones that those ideals still exist, and I am running for president to revive them. E pluribus unum. From many, one. That is the dream that won the American Revolution. That is the dream that reunited us after the Civil War. That is the dream that won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is the dream that still gives hope to the free world today. And if we can revive that dream over fractious group identity, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. And that is what we will need to revive to save this great nation.
Hey, yo, did we watch the presidential campaign announcement video for the next president of the United States? I'm giving this dude S tier, bro. I know I said that he came out a little bit negative in the beginning, but he was so overly positive with such a huge overarching message of unity and the fact that we need to come together as a nation that, oh, I mean, man, that is by far head and shoulders better than any of these presentations that these other politicians have given, and with far better talking points, right? Like, let's come together and become one nation, and find common ground in opposing the elite class. Like, most Americans can get down with that. Not just Republicans, but Democrats as well, which I think is why if he wins the nomination, it's over for whoever runs against him. But I mean, getting that nomination might be tough, but we'll see. And we have Nikki Haley. She made her announcement here. Here's the full video.
The railroad tracks divided the town by race. I was the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. Not black, not white. I was different. But my mom would always say, your job is not to focus on the differences, but the similarities. And my parents reminded me and my siblings every day how blessed we were to live in America. Some look at our past as evidence that America's founding principles are bad. They say the promise of freedom is just made up. Some think our ideas are not just wrong, but racist and evil. Nothing could be further from the truth. I have seen evil. In China, they commit genocide. In Iran, they murder their own people for challenging the government. And when a woman tells you about watching soldiers throw her baby into a fire, it puts things in perspective. Even on our worst day, we are blessed to live in America. I was born and raised in South Carolina, so I have seen the very best of our country. People here threw out the old, tired political establishment and demanded accountability for their tax dollars. Industry reports called us the beast of the Southeast, which I loved. People came by the thousands for fresh starts. Moms and dads held their heads up high. Children
the audio
learned
glitching. Is
that
that
it was
just me?
always a great day in South Carolina. It's a great day. It's a great day. A great day. A great day in South Carolina. We were strong. We were proud. And when evil did come,
Police in South Carolina are looking for a gunman following a shooting at a church.
Several victims. We don't know the severity.
we turned away from fear toward God.
Yo, is she the only person who's not Trump, who's even brought up her previous track record as someone who's held office? I mean, if she runs on this record, if it's good, I don't know too much about her record. That could be a benefit to her end.
The values that still make our country the freest and greatest in the world. We must turn in that direction again. Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections. That has to change. Joe Biden's record is abysmal, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. The Washington establishment has failed us over and over and over again. It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility, secure our border, and strengthen our country, our pride, and our purpose. Some people look at America and see vulnerability. The socialist left sees an opportunity to rewrite history. China and Russia are on the march. They all think we can be bullied, kicked around. You should know this about me. I don't put up with bullies. And when you kick back, it hurts them more if you're wearing heels. I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
That is kind of corny, but I like it. It was nice. It was nice. I think it was a little bit non-specific for a presidential, campaign video. I mean, I would have to put this really tough. It's really tough. I would have to put this above Joe Biden only. I have to put her above Joe Biden only because she ran on. She mentioned her record, right? Which I think is a positive, not a negative, from what I can tell. But here we go. Here is what we have, in our tier list. We have in last place Asa Hutchinson. In next to last place we have RFK, which is unfortunate because it seemed like he had some interesting ideas there. Then we have Joe Biden over there above RFK. Got Nikki Haley above Joe Biden. Got Marianne Williamson above Nikki Haley. Above Marianne Williamson, we've got Donald Trump. Above Donald Trump, we have Larry Elder. And then right above him, we have the man, Vivek Ramaswamy. So let me know what you guys think. I'm really interested to see which of these folks you find to be the most compelling. There was some stuff here that I really, really agreed with, even if I didn't think that they were the best candidates, or the most appealing to the majority of Americans. But yeah, there's some very interesting people, and I would highly recommend everyone to look at all of the candidates, not just the front runners, because sometimes it's the people who are the least establishment with the small support who have the most interesting and constructive things to say. So definitely check everyone out and give everyone a fair hearing. All right. Let's see. That is pretty much all that I got. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Had a pretty fun stream. Wasn't able to get to gaming at the end, unfortunately, and I know it was kind of late, but we were able to cover some good topics. I hope you guys had some fun. Also, maybe learned a little bit too at the end. I'm tired. We're getting kind of tired. But anyways, next stream will most likely be on Tuesday. We're doing Newsday Tuesday once again. I do plan on ramping up some of the gaming content next Thursday. Let me know in the Discord what game I should play next. You can just join the Discord by using the URL dscrd.ntnwb.cc. And then, yeah, let me know what you guys want to play with me. And yeah, we'll get it done. Also, do not forget, on Saturday, I will be doing a collab stream with Liberator. We're still ironing out the details. We most likely will be playing Minecraft together. So I'm looking forward to that. Tune in if you can. I'll also be sending in updates in the Discord about all of the logistics of how that's all going to work out. But anyways, that's all I got. Time for me to head to bed because I'm tired. It's 1 in the morning. Peace out, y'all.
Sheesh, that was harsh.